Hey everyone, this is Aanshul Sadaria, SWE II at Google. In this video, I am going to talk about some of the frequently asked questions about software engineering. But before we jump into that, if you want to keep learning from industry experts, make sure you check out Scalar's event page. Link is in the description below. So I have been hearing a lot of questions about software engineering from beginners, college students and professionals. I want to take this opportunity to answer the 10 most commonly asked and obviously the most useful questions. But before I start shooting at the questions, I want to ask you all one question. Why do you want to become a software engineer? Just keep the answer to this question in mind whenever you are taking a decision in your career as a software engineer. Before we begin, just one note, the answer to all of these questions are my own opinion. So definitely some of the answers are not going to be aligned with your opinion. If you feel your thoughts differ, please put down your thoughts in the comment section and we can have a healthy discussion. What are the differences between software developer and a web developer? Some people might think that the answer to this is one and the same thing. With a viewpoint, definitely yes, it does. But if I go into the technical definitions, web developer is someone who focuses primarily on building websites and other applications for web-based platforms. Whereas, as a software developer, your primary focus is to build products for the underlying operating system, and you definitely need a good knowledge about different computer science fundamentals and a wide array of programming languages. You can become a web developer by starting with tools and frameworks such as HTML, CSS, and languages like JavaScript. You can dig a little bit deeper with front-end frameworks like React, Angular, and back-end frameworks like Node, Django, Flask, etc. To start, as a software developer, begin with one industry standard programming language. It can be C++, Java, Python, whichever you feel fine, and then make sure your computer science fundamentals are pretty strong. How do I choose between different tech fields in software engineering? Cybersecurity, DevOps, machine learning, data science, data analytics, and so on. One thing I want to point out in the beginning itself, a lot of us take such decisions by looking at the compensation that you will get as a software engineer in that field. Please don't look at the salary, because as a software engineer, your career is going to span at least 20 to 40 years in general. So whatever happens like down the lane, it's not going to affect your standard of living by a lot. So make sure that whatever field you choose is inclined with your interests and your ambition. Another thing, don't look at the trends on the social media platforms. A lot of people do it for clickbaits to misguide other people, because I have been seeing this a lot. Like you will be seeing currently there is a trend of blockchain development, Web3 technologies and so on. Definitely that field is going to boost in future, but right now there are not a lot of opportunities in those fields. So you cannot take a decision thinking that okay, this field might go boom after 5 to 10 years and speculate your career based on that. So make sure you be in the present while making such a decision. Look at your current skills, your ambition, and what is required for the field of your interest. Look at the intersection of all of these three components and then only make a decision. Ultimately, all the fields are really good and there are going to be immense opportunities in all of them. If I give you my example, in the first year, I started with competitive programming, looking by the peers around me. Like I was completely into competitive programming. Then I slowly moved to web development and so on. Like I tried different projects and so on. Then in the later half of my college time, I was focused into research oriented domains like data science, machine learning, deep learning, and so on. The gist is I tried to explore a lot before defining myself into a particular field. And right now I am a software engineer of 2 years into Google, and I have been enjoying solving amazing problems out there. So ultimately, make sure that you satisfy your interest and take a decision based on that only. That's it. Can I become a developer if I am coming from a non-CS background? Now, let's take a look back into the history. In the early 2000s, when the IT boom was just starting and the dot-com bubble was about to expand, there was a time when there were less computer science graduates and the opportunities were slowly increasing. At that time, it was a little simpler for the non-computer science background students to get into tech and development domains. But if I tell you the harsh reality of today, there are so many students from computer science backgrounds. Yes, definitely, there are plenty of opportunities, but students have similar skills, similar experiences. So you need to have an edge over other students. The only way to do this is by getting quality education and quality experience. Now, what do I mean by experience? I certainly don't mean that you need some internship experience or need to be a professional working somewhere. That's not what I mean. By experience, I mean you need to have some proof of work which sets you apart from other students or other candidates who are applying for the same position. Build some amazing proof of works. It can be self projects, independent projects, research projects, or any freelancing work you are doing, or any project that you build out of a boot camp. Make sure you have something, some skills which set you apart from other students. Now, throwing some real data at you. If you are a student from premier institutes like IITs, IIITs and NITs, there is a slightly more proportion of students going from non-CS background into development domains. I'm not scaring you off. Other college students also get, but the proportion is lesser as compared to these tier 1 colleges. So the only thing that you can focus on is doing proper coding, proper development, and having good, amazing experiences. But the question here is not to get into top tech companies. Okay, the question here was, can I get into development coming from non-CS backgrounds? And I certainly believe that anybody can code, literally anybody. Can you share some advice of how to switch into software development? Whenever you are switching between different domains, it's very easy to get lost into an unknown territory. So having a consistent direction is very important, because without proper mentorship or regime, you are bound to get lost. Check out Scalar's amazing courses and curriculum and see if that's the right fit for you. First of all, you need to understand what you want to do. Do you want to become a freelancer working for your own self on some cool projects, or you want to get into some software company? Okay, here I'm not emphasizing on top tech companies. I'm going to share about how you can get into software companies in general. Okay, first of all, you need to know the answer to this. If you want to become a freelancer, focus on building some cool projects. Before that, focus on getting some software development skills. Proof of works is the ultimate boost if you want to become a freelancer. Work for someone, anyone, even if your first gig gives you a little less money, work on it, work for it. Because once you build some amazing proof of works, it's going to be word of mouth and you are going to get a lot better opportunities. Next, find a peer group who is trying to achieve exactly what you are and make sure that they are equally ambitious. Because I personally believe that good peer pressure is very healthy. Make sure you build some amazing connections that's going to be equally helpful to you if you want to get into freelancing or want to get into some company. Because these connections will help you guide towards the right opportunities your way. Now, if you want to get into some software company, make sure that you begin with some industry standard programming language. As I mentioned, C++, Java, Python, any one of them is fine. But if you want to get into top tech companies, make sure you have a strong hold over the fundamental data structures and algorithms, because these companies focus on your problem solving skills and they will judge you by your DSS skills in their coding technical rounds. Which programming languages should I begin with? Now, before I answer this question, I want to share this thing. There is no such golden rule as how many languages I should know or what languages I should know to get into some company. Okay, it depends on your requirements ultimately. But if I wanted to answer this thing, my suggestion would be start with some industry standard language. As I mentioned, like C++, Java, Python is a good starting point. And then based on your requirements on need to know basis, you can learn some new tools, new languages and new frameworks. Now, as I mentioned, based on your requirements, it may change. So if you want to get into data science, machine learning, or any field related to data, Python is a good starting point. From there, you can jump on to other languages like R, Julia, Scala, and so on. But I firmly believe if you want to get into data and related fields, then Python is a strong base. Now, if you want to get into mobile or app development, Java should be your go-to language. Once you learn Java, you can move on to other languages like Kotlin, Go, Swift, and so on whenever the requirement arises. If you want to get into development in general, then JavaScript should be your go-to language. If as a student or as a professional, you want to become a competitive programmer, then C++ should be the language which should be your proficient language. Ultimately, as I mentioned, there is no such golden rule. Any language is a good language, and I'm not going to say that one language holds preference over other languages. It just depends on your interest and what field in software engineering you want to pursue. Overall, I have shared my guidelines, I have shared my suggestions. Feel free to mention your suggestions in the comment below. How much time does it take to learn or become an expert in software engineering? From my experience, I know one thing for sure, it's surely going to take at least 6 years, because that's the amount of time it has taken me to learn, and I'm nowhere near being an expert or nowhere near from completely learning the field of software engineering. Okay, so on a more serious note or a philosophical note, you cannot learn software engineering as to say. You need to implement whatever stuff you learn, whatever theory you learn. Okay, you need to practice the concepts you learn and understand and try to build some actual productive stuff. All right, and the field of software engineering is developing so immensely and so rapidly that there is no end to learning. You need to continue learn new technologies, new frameworks, and keep yourself up to grade if you want to survive or strive in the field of software engineering. I'm not scaring you, but make sure ultimately your fundamentals about computer science skills are good and you are a good problem solver, and make sure you keep updating yourself with the best of tools and technologies around. The software industry is rapidly developing, so make sure that you keep yourself up to date with the new tools and technologies. There is no end to learning in software engineering, so make sure if you want to survive and strive in this field, you keep learning new programming languages, new tools, and new frameworks. Along with that, make sure that your fundamentals about computer science and your problem solving skills are top notch. Do I need to be a competitive programmer if I want to get a high paying job or a job in top tech MNCs? Now, I absolutely love this question because so many people are talking about so much stuff about competitive programming on social media platforms. I surely want to burst this one myth. Competitive programming is very helpful in order to improve your problem solving skills, but it is not mandatory. It's not mandatory at all. Having said that, due to this pandemic and stuff, like companies have moved to remote opportunities, and this opens up new possibilities for you to get hefty pays in jobs where you don't actually require to move abroad. Like you can stay in India and work for companies abroad and earn a lot of money. Having said that, if you want to get into HFTs, or more popularly known as high frequency trading firms, it will require you to be an amazing problem solver, and they don't specify this explicitly that you need to be a competitive programmer. But one pattern that I have observed in all of their recruitments is that the candidates are super amazing competitive programmers. They are great problem solvers, and they are one of the top rated professionals on competitive programming platforms like CodeChef, Codeforces, and so on. Now, if you want to get into top tech companies, you need to make sure that your DSA game is top notch. Having said that, by DSA, I don't mean competitive programming. There are a lot of ways in which you can improve your problem solving skills or DSA skills without competitive programming. One analogy comes to my mind. If you want to get fit, there are numerous ways of doing that. You can go to gym, you can do cardio, swimming, yoga, and a lot of other stuff. But it is my opinion that going to gym is one of the most effective ways to get fit. In the same way, if you want to sharpen your skills of problem solving or DSA, then competitive programming is one of the most effective ways. So it's completely up to you. Competitive programming is not mandatory, but data structures and algorithms is absolutely mandatory if you want to get into top tech companies. What are the things that I should focus on if I want to become a senior software engineer? First of all, I don't think I qualify to answer this question because I am nowhere near being a senior software engineer. But having said that, I have conversed a lot with a lot of my colleagues who are very senior software engineers, and I have seen their career trajectory closely or understood them from a third person point of view. So I hope I can share their experience, their journey in order to guide you in a better way. So one thing is for sure, one thing is very, very important if you want to become a senior software engineer, and that is technical independence. You should be comfortable dealing with complex problems which are ambiguous in nature. You should be comfortable scoping out the problem, understanding the requirements from a technical feasibility, and are able to drive the high level and low level design for the solution. Along with that, your impact should not be just limited to your own project. You should be driving technical decisions for other projects around you as well, and be involved in cross-functional team collaborations as well. Along with that, you can gain some amazing leadership skills by mentoring new hires or lateral hires or even interns. You will always learn something new from them. I guess I can perhaps go on and on, but this is a good starting point for you all. If you are aiming to become a senior software engineer, I will definitely get back to this question once and when I become a senior software engineer in as many years as it takes for me. Do software engineers really have the best work-life balance? I think this is a very subjective question, and it would vary from person to person, because if you ask me, I think it's an amazing time to be a software engineer, but it would vary from team to team and company to company. Even within a company, the work-life balance will depend on which team you are working in. Even within a team, the work-life balance will vary based on who your manager is. So I for sure cannot answer or give a concrete solution to that. But if I wanted to give something generic, okay, I think the times are awesome because post-pandemic, a lot of companies have moved to hybrid facilities. They are providing remote opportunities for their employees to work from wherever they want to. And the companies understand the everyday struggle of people, like the commute and all the personal responsibilities they have and so on. Companies have been kind enough to provide all the flexibility possible, provided the employees can fulfill their commitments as per their convenience. I personally love working from home once in a while. I can work from mountains, I can work from beaches and nurture my travel bug whenever I want to. I don't need to worry if I need to punch my card on the company door tomorrow, next day or whatsoever. Okay, so that's complete freedom that I get, no micromanagement at all. I can drive my own technical decisions, and personally speaking, these are very pampering times for software engineers, but we should use them judiciously. How to deal with imposter syndrome being a software engineer? Now, this is a very funny question because imposter syndrome will follow you everywhere you go, even if you are an experienced professional. It happens with me all the time. Like, I get imposter syndrome even when my interns or the new joinees perform in an amazing way. So that's not going to leave you. Funny story, like I was working on a problem some time back. I worked on it for a couple of days. I was not able to get to a solution. I pinged my friend who is also a software engineer at Google. So he came up with a solution in a few hours, and I was like, do I even deserve to be here? I started questioning myself and I was in self-doubt. Then after a few days, the same friend was dealing with some issues and I was able to provide him the technical guidance. So ultimately, we need to understand one fundamental rule. You can't master everything, okay? It's okay to take help and give help in return whenever someone needs it. You can't master all the programming languages. You can't have a deeper understanding of all the tools, all the systems used by your team. One way in which you can deal with this issue is by talking to your friends or colleagues who you are close at a personal level, okay? Because every person is on the same boat at one point in time or the other. They have went through this phase of self-doubt, and sharing such experiences will give you some sense of laughter and joy that, okay, we are all in the same boat of self-doubt and we keep on questioning our skills now and again. So it's not going to go. Be comfortable with it. Be happy with it. I hope I was able to answer most of the questions that were bothering you about software engineering. If you loved this content, make sure you like this video. Put your thoughts down in the comment section so that we can have an amazing conversation. Make sure you subscribe Scalar's YouTube channel for amazing content and hit the bell icon so you never miss a notification.